You know what's funny about Quo Vadis? On the surface, it looks like just another big, loud Roman epic, huge sets, thousands of extras, booming music, and speeches that feel like they could shake the walls. But once you start peeling back the layers, you realize this movie was kind of insane to make. It pushed MGM to the edge, financially, physically exhausted its cast, and quietly changed how Hollywood handled epic films forever. This wasn't just a movie, it was a gamble, a statement, and in some ways a miracle that it even exists in the form we know today. So let me tell you some things about Quo Vadis that don't usually make it into the trivia books. Fact 1. This movie almost bankrupted MGM. Here's something most people don't realize: Quo Vadis was so expensive that it nearly sank one of the biggest studios in Hollywood. MGM poured an absolutely unbelievable amount of money into this film. Sets were built on a scale that hadn't been seen before, costumes were handmade in massive numbers, and thousands upon thousands of extras were hired. At one point, studio executives were quietly panicking, wondering if audiences would even care about a Roman story in the early 1950s. If Quo Vadis had failed, MGM would have been in serious trouble. That pressure hung over everyone on set, whether they admitted it or not. Fact 2. Rome was rebuilt because the real one wasn't enough. Instead of relying only on real locations, MGM basically rebuilt ancient Rome from scratch. Entire city blocks, forums, palaces, and streets were constructed at Cinecittà Studios in Italy. These weren't flimsy background sets either. They were detailed, heavy, and built to withstand crowds of extras moving through them all day long. Some of these sets were so well made that they were reused for years in later Roman epics. In a weird way, Quo Vadis created a fake Rome that became more famous on film than the real thing. Fact 3. Peter Ustinov's Nero was almost too weird for Hollywood. Peter Ustinov's performance as Nero is now legendary, but at the time people didn't know what to make of it. He wasn't playing Nero as a simple villain. He made him childish, insecure, theatrical, and almost ridiculous. Some executives worried audiences wouldn't take him seriously. But that was exactly the point. Ustinov understood that true power mixed with insecurity is terrifying. His Nero laughs, sulks, performs poetry, and explodes emotionally all within minutes. It felt dangerously modern, and honestly, it stole the movie. Fact 4. Robert Taylor wasn't fully sold on the role. Robert Taylor, who played Marcus Vinicius, wasn't immediately in love with the role. He was known for being careful about his image and worried that another sword and sandals film might feel repetitive. What convinced him wasn't the romance, it was the moral journey. Marcus starts as a loyal Roman soldier and slowly changes as he confronts faith, cruelty, and power. Taylor saw that transformation as the heart of the movie, and once he locked into that, he gave one of the strongest performances of his career. Fact 5. Deborah Kerr trained herself to feel untouchable. Deborah Kerr's character Lygia had to feel pure without being boring, and that's harder than it sounds. Kerr reportedly worked hard to carry herself differently from other characters on set. Softer movements, calmer reactions, and quieter confidence. She wanted Lygia to feel like someone who couldn't be corrupted by Rome, no matter how loud or brutal it became. It's subtle, but once you notice it, you realize how much discipline went into making her presence feel spiritually strong instead of passive. Fact 6. The burning of Rome was a controlled disaster. That massive fire sequence? It was one of the most dangerous things MGM had ever attempted. Fire effects in the early 1950s were no joke. No CGI, no digital safety nets. Real flames, real heat, and real panic if something went wrong. Firefighters were on standby constantly, and actors rehearsed movements carefully to avoid accidents. Even then, there were moments when the flames got too close for comfort. Watching it today, it feels epic, but back then it was terrifying. Fact 7. Thousands of extras didn't speak English. Because the film was shot in Italy, many of the extras were locals who didn't speak English at all. They were given simple instructions through gestures or translators, sometimes just told to look angry, run, or cheer. That actually added to the realism. The chaos of the crowd scenes feels authentic because it was chaotic. The language barrier created raw, unpredictable movement that you can't choreograph perfectly. Fact 8. The Christian scenes were handled with extreme care. MGM knew they were walking a tightrope with religious themes. They wanted the Christian elements to feel respectful without turning the film into a sermon. Advisors were brought in to make sure the tone stayed serious and sincere. The result is interesting. The Christian characters aren't flashy heroes. They're quiet, patient, and often terrified. Their faith feels human, not dramatic, which actually makes their suffering more powerful. Fact 9. The arena scenes were emotionally draining. Those scenes with Christians facing death in the arena weren't just physically exhausting, they took an emotional toll on the cast. Some actors reportedly struggled after filming days involving executions and martyrdom. The crowd scenes required cheering and cruelty, even from extras who didn't feel comfortable pretending to enjoy suffering. That discomfort comes through on screen, making the scenes unsettling in a way that still works decades later. Fact 10. Nero's music was meant to be awkward. Whenever Nero performs or talks about his art, it feels uncomfortable, and that was intentional. The filmmakers wanted his creative ambitions to feel self-indulgent and disconnected from reality. His music isn't meant to inspire, it's meant to expose his ego. Peter Ustinov leaned into that awkwardness, making Nero feel like someone desperate for praise while completely blind to the pain he causes. Fact 11. This movie quietly restarted the Roman epic genre. Before Quo Vadis, big Roman epics weren't guaranteed hits. After it, Hollywood suddenly remembered how much audiences loved massive historical stories. This movie directly paved the way for films like Ben-Hur the Rogue and Spartacus. Studios realized that if you mix spectacle with emotion, people would show up in droves. In that sense, Quo Vadis didn't just succeed, it changed the industry's direction. Fact 12. Costumes were built like museum pieces. The costumes weren't just thrown together for the camera. Many were researched, layered, and handcrafted with extreme attention to detail. Armor was heavy. Robes were thick. Jewelry was elaborate. Actors often complained about the weight, especially under the Italian sun. But that discomfort helped performances. People moved differently because the clothes demanded it. Fact 13. Nero was the real center of the story. Even though Marcus and Lygia are technically the leads, Nero is the emotional center of the film. Every major conflict circles back to him. His paranoia, insecurity, and hunger for validation drive the plot more than romance ever does. The filmmakers understood this and allowed Nero to dominate scenes whenever he appeared. Fact 14. The title question, Quo Vadis, was personal. The phrase Quo Vadis, meaning where are you going, isn't just religious symbolism. It reflects every major character's journey. Marcus questions his loyalty. Lygia questions her safety. Nero questions his greatness. Everyone is moving somewhere morally and emotionally. That idea quietly ties the entire movie together. Fact 15. Some scenes were shot multiple times for different countries. Because international audiences mattered so much, certain scenes were adjusted slightly to avoid censorship issues. Violence, religious imagery, and political themes were sometimes softened or emphasized depending on where the film would be released. That meant reshoots, edits, and alternate takes a massive logistical headache. Fact 16. The runtime was a bold risk. At over 3 hours, Quo Vadis asked a lot from audiences. Studios worried people wouldn't sit that long. But the filmmakers believed the story needed time to breathe. They trusted viewers to stay engaged, and they were right. The length became part of the experience, making the fall of Rome feel slow, heavy, and inevitable. Fact 17. This film redefined epic acting. Actors couldn't just act big, they had to act truthfully within massive spaces. Quiet moments had to compete with towering sets and thousands of extras. That balance influenced how future epic films were performed. Less theatrical shouting, more grounded emotion. Fact 18. Some extras returned years later as stars. Several background actors in Quo Vadis went on to have careers in Italian and European cinema. For them, this movie wasn't just a paycheck, it was a foot in the door. Standing in those massive crowd scenes was their first taste of film history in the making. Fact 19. The film's success shocked the studio. Even MGM underestimated how big Quo Vadis would become. When box office numbers rolled in relief, spread through the studio. Not only had they avoided disaster, they'd created a classic. That success justified every sleepless night, every budget fight, and every risky decision. Fact 20. Quo Vadis feels human because it was made the hard way. What really makes Quo Vadis last isn't the fire, the crowds, or the speeches. It's the humanity. People sweating under costumes. Actors wrestling with moral questions. A studio betting everything on a story about faith, power, and cruelty. You can feel that effort in every frame, and that's why the movie still works today. So yeah, Quo Vadis, 1951, isn't just an old Roman epic you stumble across on late-night TV. It's a movie built on risk, ambition, and a whole lot of human struggle behind the scenes. The kind of film they honestly don't make anymore, not because they can't, but because they don't have to. If you ever rewatch it, keep these stories in mind. Suddenly the flames burn hotter, Nero feels scarier, and the quiet moments hit a little deeper. And honestly, that's the magic of classic Hollywood.